Hiya Dragons, and welcome to this instructional video for Lesson 14 Part 3, Conflict and Cooperation Between Governments. The main idea behind this civics lesson is although conflicts may arise over land use and revenue, local, state, and federal governments often cooperate to solve problems. With that in mind, by the end of watching this video, you'll be able to explain how local governments cooperate and come into conflict with each other, analyze relations between local and state governments, and describe the relationship between local, state, and federal governments. Now that the outcomes for this lesson have been shared with you, let's get started. Look in your phone book and see how many levels of government are listed that serve you. Like most citizens, you probably live under at least 4 layers of government. Almost every town, city, and township lies inside a county. All these local governments must answer to their state governments. Of course, the nation as a whole is guided by the federal government. As the layers overlap, governments both cooperate and come into conflict. In 1954, a county official in the Detroit area became alarmed that the region's services were not keeping up with its growth. He met with officials of neighboring counties to figure out how to meet area-wide needs. Soon other regions were holding meetings too. These groups became known as councils of government. Other groups, such as the United States Conference of Mayors, are also ways of linking local governments. Officials from these groups talk about matters that affect them all, and they work together to look for solutions. Since cooperation would seem to help everyone, what causes conflicts between local governments? One big cause of conflict between local governments is economics. Communities often compete to attract new businesses, which pay new property taxes. Communities also compete to get federal money. Another cause of conflict is the effect of one community's policies on neighboring communities. One city may zone an area for new factories. However, when the pollution from that factory zone blows into the neighboring city, the stage is set for conflict. Problems can also lead to cooperation. Sometimes communities work together to provide services that would cost too much for each to provide for itself. Townships have teamed up to answer emergency calls. Each township's fire department offers something different, such as clothing that protects people from fire or training for emergencies. Small communities may also turn to counties for help. A county can build a jail or hospital to serve several small towns. Many states have a strong voice in deciding how local governments will be set up. Other states have granted cities and some counties home rule, the right to write their own charter. Whether or not they grant home rule, most states give communities some freedom to handle local matters. The question of what is a local matter and what is also a state matter, however, can lead to conflict. For example, California wanted to build a sewage plant for the city of Arcata. The state had received federal money for the plant, but Arcata would have to pay millions of dollars too. Arcata came up with the plan for a cheaper sewage system, but the state said no. City officials spent 2 years going to meetings with state officials. Finally, Arcata won the right to build the system it wanted. When local and state laws come into conflict, however, state law is almost always enforced. Many state governments work directly with local governments to solve local problems. The city of Evanston turned to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for help in building a park over what had been a garbage dump. The job was hard because rotten garbage is not a stable surface and makes a gas that can blow up if trapped. Together, city and state officials worked out plans to cover the garbage with a layer of clay and to build a vent for the gas to escape. States often work with local governments to carry out state programs. When a state highway commission plans a road that will cut through a city, it asks the advice of the city council. States also help local programs run smoothly. State officials help local officials in finance, law enforcement, health, and education. Also, states test and license local government workers, such as teachers and doctors. Money is the key to the relations of local governments to state and federal governments. The federal government gives grants and loans for housing, public assistance, and other uses. The idea is to use federal money at the local level to meet national goals. For example, the federal government gives grants for job training programs. Such grants are often given to the states. Then the states decide how to divide up the money among local governments that run the programs. The federal government also gives aid directly to local governments. Sometimes local officials come into conflict with federal and state officials over how to spend grant money. Most federal money for local governments can be used only in certain ways. Grants given to help meet a national goal may not match local needs. The states often have the power to decide who gets federal grants. If local governments want the freedom to set their own policies, they may have to do without federal money. Unfortunately, most communities do not have enough money to do big projects without some federal help. Many problems affect all levels of government and are best solved by cooperation. If one factory dumps poisonous wastes, it's a local matter. However, poisonous wastes have polluted groundwater, lakes, and rivers across the nation, so pollution has also become a nationwide concern. Federal, state, and local governments must all work together to clean up and stop pollution. Local, state, and federal governments also cooperate in providing services, such as law enforcement. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, trains local police in the latest ways of fighting crime. Local police turn to the FBI for records of suspected criminals. Local, state, and federal officers work together to solve crimes like bank robbery and kidnapping. The federal-state-local partnership is a good way to deal with nationwide problems. It also brings local problems to national attention because local officials can tell state and federal officials what their citizens want. Even though there are conflicts, they can lead to creative solutions. If you want to take part in finding solutions, local government is a good place to start. So that's the way it is with Lesson 14, Part 3, Conflict and Cooperation Between Governments. At this point, you should know that local government provides many of the services citizens use daily. Local governments spend money depending on the needs of citizens and the availability of revenue, and local governments can raise money through various means. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to have the entire catalog of civics videos available at your fingertips. Click the subscribe button, then click the follow bell to receive notifications as to when the channel is updated. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in class, Dragons.